This is the second talk I've given about National Service. First was a sort of introduction. I called it 10 Facts About National Service. This second one goes into rather more detail about one of them. So talk number 2, National Service. Why did they do square bashing? If you said the words National Service to the next 20 people you met in the street, it's a fair bet that half of them would say, "High time we brought it back." The other half would say, "Oh yes, all that square bashing, all those hours of spit and polish, all those hours of bawling, swearing sergeant majors." Chances are that they will then shake their heads and say to themselves, "Stupid." Which just about sums up what most people know about National Service, or think they know. Let's take a slightly closer look. Between 1947 and 1963, every able-bodied young man over the age of 17 and up to the age of 26 was required by law to do service in the armed forces. The actual length of service fluctuated to begin with, but settled at 2 years in 1950, and that was what the vast majority of national servicemen did. They're 2 years. In the event, about 75% of them went in the Army, 23% went in the Air Force, and only 2% were accepted by the Navy. There were differences, naturally, between the three services, but all these young men found themselves faced with very similar challenges, like getting up early in the morning, living in a barrack room, having to do outdoor work, a lot of physical effort, and so on and so on. And just to jolly things along a bit, loud non-commissioned officers chasing them and demanding standards of fitness, smartness, and exertion that they had never been called upon to produce in their lives before. So we come to the square bashing and the spit and polish and the swearing sergeants that everybody thinks they know about. They were the oldest jokes in the book. Comedians and script writers and film directors flogged them to death. Meantime, the more sensitive and artistic and, shall we say, creative among us attacked them because they were apparently pointless. What did shiny toe caps and stamping and marching have to do with actual fighting? When did a posh parade ever win a war? Well, the War Office and the Air Ministry and the Admiralty had an answer for that. A war was won, they said, by the side which was, among other things, the best organised and the most purposeful. That was achieved by discipline and hard work, and that in turn was achieved by everyone doing what he was told at once, without question. The trouble was, and still is, that most people are not very good at doing what they're told. Children are no longer expected to be seen and not heard. Discipline in schools is not as strict as it used to be. We're no better when we grow up. We don't read bylaws or small print on packets. We don't park in the right places. We don't fill in forms correctly. We jump traffic lights. We dump litter on beaches. Right now, some of us refuse to have the COVID test because it's some kind of sinister conspiracy. We pride ourselves on our sense of independence. So the Army and the Navy and the Air Force had to work out a way of getting everybody to work together well enough to win a war. And they came up with drill. This is what people mean when they are talking about square bashing, did they but know. When they say, what, drill, when they say square bashing, they're really talking about drill. Marching and manoeuvring, singly and in groups, on a barrack square. To make it official, books were produced, very thorough books. The War Office issued a drill manual in 1951, published by His Majesty's Stationery Office. Excuse me. Well, it was King George in those days, 1951, 2 shillings and sixpence, 12.5p. It governed all national service, all the regulations, right through the 1950s. You can still buy it in the bookshops and read for yourself. It costs a bit more than 12.5p now. Drill was designed, said the Army, to develop in the individual soldier that sense of instinctive obedience which will assist him at all times to carry out his orders. That the foundation of discipline in battle is based on drill has been proved again and again. We who have never been in battle have no right to contradict that, however much we may value our independence. So drill is not pointless, and it is not mindless, and it is certainly not easy. The book goes on. Good drill, it said, well rehearsed, closely supervised, and demanding the highest precision, is an exercise in obedience and alertness. It sets the standard for the execution of any duty, both for the individual and the unit, and builds up that sense of confidence between commander and subordinate which is so essential in battle. Well, that's what the book says. Of course, the National Serviceman or the National Service recruit did not see it like that. He was not in a position to see it like that. He couldn't care less about the Army's side of it. He was too busy doing his best to survive his own side of it. He didn't want to be in the bloody Army in the first place. All he saw was the prospect of a lot of work, a lot of shouting, a lot of repetition, and devilish high standards of dress expected at all times. So when he moaned about it, his listeners, still comfortable in civilian life, believed he was right, that the whole damn thing was nothing but senseless exercises, pettifogging precision, trivial detail, and tasks of infantile simplicity. Well, all those recruits were in for a surprise. There was one more surprise in that drill manual I spoke about. It insisted that drill instructors, those nasty sergeants and sergeant majors, had responsibilities too. On page 112, it emphasized the paramount importance of the instructor setting an example in both dress and behavior, and it warned, bad language will not be tolerated. So there.